Hey everyone, this is Curb Knight bringing you a V Premium match just to shake things up a little bit. This is actually a really old match that I've had for quite some time, but as you can see, we do have some kind of weird Royal Paladin build, courtesy of one of our people at Locals. And on the right, we have Jewel Knight, a pretty standard actual put together deck that isn't just like a bunch of weird cooking stuff. Anyways, we did actually enter in the middle of the match. We did see Jewel Knights going first, just riding up. Moving on to the, I'm just going to be calling it Gancelot, I believe, because that's kind of what the deck is built around, even though we're going to be not exactly seeing that this match. But anyways, going to be riding into that Sisyphus. I don't think we actually hit anything off of it, off the top there. And we just are going to be passing over to Jewel Knight. Jewel Knight's going to ride into Sybil. Sybil's going to swing, using its skill to put a card from hand into soul and to draw another card. Then we are going to be riding into the Slayman. And then Slayman's skill, when it is placed on Vanguard circle, you do actually get to check top 7 and then call any ult mile from those top 7 to the rear guard. And then calling out a star called Trumpeter, I think it's what it's called. It's from the MLB deck. So as you can see, there's a lot of just weird stuff crammed into this. We're seeing MLB, we're seeing a lot of alt mile stuff with the Slayman, who's going to be swinging Soul Blasting 1. You actually get to bounce a rear guard that is in another column to your hand, and then it gets an extra 5k. You can be hit with a Heal Guardian, hitting into a critical trigger, giving all the effects to the rear guard alt mile, which is going to be hit with another Heal Guardian. So not going to be taking very much damage from that. I believe we're just starting this turn at 2, which is pretty good for the Jewel Knight player. You do have a lot of CB to work with. On the other hand, the Gancelot deck is at 0 damage, so we're looking at probably not going to be hurting too much from this first Jewel Knight turn. Going to be riding over the Sybil, and I believe you get to check top 5 or something, and no, it's top 3. Yes, you look at the top 3 cards of your deck, and then you choose a grade 2 or less and call it to the rear guard. We are going to be seeing, let's see, what's that card called? The Alwayn called out. And then looks like we are just going to be doing a little bit of cycling, calling out that grade 1, which is called Morvidius, and then calling another Alwayn over it. Whenever you place something on top of that grade 1 circle, you do actually get to draw a card. And we are actually seeing the Alwayn skill used here, where you basically just rest it and put a normal unit for your drop zone onto the bottom of the deck. And then you get to Soul Charge 1, and you give your Vanguard an extra 5k. And then, of course, that's going to be followed up with a very nice combo play of the Ashley Reverse, which was our ride going for the Force 2, using it to Soul Blast 2, and then retire one of the opponent's rear guards. And you also do get to call any Jewel Knight from your deck. And we are going to be seeing another Alwayn coming out. And then just using the second Alwayn skill to rest itself, putting another normal unit. I believe you have to put a Jewel Knight, if I'm correct. No, it doesn't actually have to be a Jewel Knight, which is kind of interesting, but it is what it is. Anyways, getting into what we're doing, we are just spamming a lot of that Ashley skill, using it once again, I believe, to Soul Blast the 2 and lock a rear guard. That's something I kind of missed during the last time we did it, but you can obviously see it on the screen. Checking the top, top 4, you can call only a Jewel Knight from those 2 rear guards, and then the rest actually go to the bottom of the deck in any order. So there is actually a little bit of reverse stacking in the Jewel Knight deck. We're seeing another Alwayn used again, probably just doing it for the more soul, and then probably going to be using the Ashley Reverses skill yet again, which is very nice. Something very good about the Jewel Knight deck, where pretty much everything just fuels itself, and it can just push out really strong, powerful numbers, as we are going to be seeing here going into this turn. So once again, using that Ashley Reverses skill, I think that's like the second or third, definitely the third time we're using it this turn, because obviously we have 3 locked cards, and part of the cost is to lock a card. I believe you actually have to lock no, it's just any rear guard, so definitely a lot less xenophobic than the original Jewel Knights. Going to be calling out an Ashley, actually, off of the top 5, swinging with that grade 2, which is called, what was that, Lael? You actually put another Jewel Knight from your drop zone into the bottom of the deck. I actually think it's just a normal unit, and then it gets another 5k, so it is going to actually hit for a very nice number against that Slayman. and then going to be swinging the Ashley herself, which is just going to be blocked for a 5k. Obviously going to block that because it is on that force 2, and it's a 5k guard. There's no reason not to commit the 5k. I'm using Ashley's skill to Soul Blast 2 at the end of the battle she attacks, and you do call any Jewel Knight from your deck, and then you could theoretically counterblast 1 and give it an extra crit, but in this situation you really don't need to. We are going to be seeing the Miranda called out, which is going to be using its skill to counterblast 1 and copy the power of the Vanguard, who is currently at 28. So this is going to be a 28 for 2 damage, going to be committing that 20k guard to push ourselves up to 30 so that we can actually block that and not just take that free 2 damage that we would have gotten off that. So swinging with the Ashley reverse, we do actually counterblast 2 since we do have enough locked cards. We get our Vanguard an extra 10k, and then we call 2 rear guard or 2 Jewel Knights straight from the deck. I believe they have to go on to... No, they don't actually. They can go onto empty ones. I know some of the Jewel Knight cards require you to actually place them onto something that already has something there, but I think that's just Salome. And anyways, we are seeing another Miranda come out, which is actually going to proc its skill, which is when something is placed over it, I believe, you get to soul charge 1, and then if you have no face-up cards, you do actually get to counter charge 1. So that means we are actually going to be able to use the Miranda skill once again. Flipping over the first check is going to be a critical trigger, giving the power to that, what is that, Aloy or whatever, and then giving the critical to the Vanguard, obviously hitting into a heal trigger there. So we're actually going to be going down to 2 here. So far we've only taken 3 damage, but we healed down 1, so we still are at 2. Swinging with that, what is that, Lane again, putting the card on the bottom of the deck, giving it an extra 5k. So that is hitting for a very nice number of 25, which is another 20k guard, but obviously not going to be going for it. Swinging the Miranda, we're using its skill to pump ourselves up to that 38, but it's just going to be hit with a Heal Guardian. I didn't opt to choose or to show which effect we use, because either way you have the same result, because if you negate 2 crit, it's no damage, and then if you were to actually pump yourself up by an extra 10k, that would have put us at, I believe, 45, which is enough to guard the attack anyway. So anyways, we're already seeing this Gancelot deck riding into the alt mile and actually using the alt mile skill, which this is the alt mile from the trial deck, which is one I don't think you would want to be riding. I don't really know this deck. It's not my deck. It's some funny cooked up stuff that was actually doing well at this locals. But anyways, we are seeing the alt mile skill. You actually counterblast 1 and then discard a card, and you search your deck for up to 2 grade 2 cards, and you just add them to your hand, which in theory seems like a pretty decent skill, but really when you're talking about the power level of V, it's not really worth it. Anyways, going to be searching out 2 blaster blades, calling them down, and then counterblasting and soul blasting for each of them to retire the front row. And then since we no longer have face up damage, which in case you don't know, alt mile in V series, its gimmick is having no face up damage. This alt mile does actually get an extra 15k, so it is at a 28, which is a very nice magic number. But going to be swinging with the blaster blade first. Obviously the other blaster blade can't hit since it is not on that force 1 marker. It's going to be swinging for 20k, which is an easy 20k block, but really there's no reason to really guard it unless you have like a grade 1, and maybe you just want to keep that in hand. So going to be swinging the Vanguard, hitting into a critical trigger, meaning that this blaster blade will be able to hit so long as we don't hit a defensive trigger. But unfortunately we did actually hit into a defensive critical, so that means that this other blaster blade is not going to be able to hit. So actually going to be rewriting into that Ashley reverse once again, getting a second force 2 marker. So this is really looking like a very dire situation, considering that we can multi-attack with all those rear guards. Putting those force markers on the rear guards while we are at 3 kind of ensures that we can only take 1 rear guard swing, and then we honestly just have to guard everything else, because when everything is hitting for just like 2 damage when you're already at 3, it's just, I don't know, it's gonna be really difficult to guard this oncoming turn. Okay, looks like we are finally getting into those plays once again, using that, what's her name again, Alwayn skill in order to rest itself, give the Vanguard another 5k. Probably just going to be seeing a bit of a loop of what we saw last turn. As we can see, the Ashley reverse once again using the skill, checking top 4, retiring the Blaster Blade, and locking, of course, the Alwayn that we just rested, and then just going to be calling out a bunch of rear guards. Probably looking to find some really good front row attackers. We do see that grade 1 Morvidus, which I believe was the grade 1 we saw all the way back in the first grade 3 turn at the very start of it, using a second Alwayn skill to put another card on the bottom of the deck, soul charge 1, and then give the Vanguard an extra 5k, and then just chaining the Ashley reverse once again to retire the other Blaster Blade, lock the Alwayn we just rested, checking the top 4, and then this time calling out a regular Ashley, using the last Alwayn skill, of course, and then putting two more. It's just 1 card on the bottom of the deck. Once again, soul charge +5. I'm sure you know the drill by now. This is probably like the 6th time we've seen it, which I think, honestly, this is probably what you're looking to do with Jewel Knights. Ever since we got Ashley reverse, I think in most situations, I think Ashley reverse is honestly a little bit of the better play, just because you can do things like this. There's a lot of board control. You can amass massive power. I believe Miranda only works on... No, she's actually generic to any Jewel Knight. So theoretically, you could be playing a Salome build, but I think that in most situations, I think Ashley reverse is just a little bit better. I think it is a little bit more combo based than the Salome builds, but anyways, we are I guess things are happening again. So we placed over the what's her face, Mordivis, and that allows you to draw a card, and then actually using the Mordivis skill itself to actually counterblast 1 and put a normal unit from the bottom to the bottom of the deck. You soul charge 1, and then you choose one of your Jewel Knight units and give it an extra 5k. So in this situation, we are actually going to be giving it to the Ashley reverse Vanguard, meaning that it is sitting at a 33k base, which is definitely scary in its own right. And then swinging with this Lael, her skill is to put 2 normal units, and then you soul charge 1 and get an extra 5k, so that this is actually going to be hitting even though we don't have a booster, and we're swinging at a 3k or 13k Vanguard. Swinging the Ashley reverse, thinking on whether we want to use that skill. I mean, it is more multi-attack, and you are on force 2. Your opponent is not really looking great in this situation, because your choices are really take the Vanguard. Even if they don't hit a critical trigger, you still have to guard all of these rear guard swings, and it looks like we are running really low on cards in hand. Looks like we've only got 3 cards there. We can really only afford to take 1 of these rear guard swings, which probably is going to be this Miranda, considering it's at 33, hitting into a heal trigger, unfortunately at the wrong timing, and I believe that was an Exculpate the Blaster that we saw as 5th damage, which is why I say this is very funny monkey deck. Going to be swinging the Ashley reverse. Going to have to do something about this. We honestly don't have a lot of options because we have 3 cards in hand. I think we saw one was a PG, one was a Blaster Blade, and I think we saw a heal for the last unit as our last card in hand. Going to be calling a Miranda, as well as, what is that card? I think that is the grade 1. I'm not sure. I know it's a grade 2. Oh well, it doesn't really matter because we could PG this Vanguard, but then we're just going to be having to eat both of these rearguard swings, and they are both for 2 damage. So I think the real option here is to kind of take the Vanguard swing, hope he doesn't get a crit, and hope for like a 6 damage heal, and then maybe you have a chance of actually guarding these other 2 swings by using the last couple of cards in your hand. But anyways, we're going to see the first check, second check, nothing, and then of course the 6 damage is going to be a Gancelot and not a 6 damage heal. So that is going to be the end of the match. I hope you guys enjoyed this little V Premium match. Don't forget to do all those YouTube things, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.